Hello, my golf fanatics. Welcome back to Billy Ho Sports. We're here for another PGA course preview, DraftKings first look. We're exiting Hawaii, the Sony Open final round going on today. So we'll see. I was doing pretty good there for a while. I mean, I was up in the birdie, the $3 birdie, like all the way in the top five late the other day. But JT Poston missing the cut on the number killed me. Killed a lot of lineups. I did get a couple of sixes. So I had like I think 3 out of 12 lineups, something like that. Did pretty good. But if Eric Cole pulls it off like Pat Mayo, shout out to him. I wish I would have just placed a bet on him at 100 to 1. But I played him in a lot of my DraftKings lineups, 50% of my something like that. So if he pulls it off today, I should be in for a profit. But anyway, we got to get going here because we're headed out to California for the American Express. Unique format, multiple courses. We're going to show some flyovers, not all of them the crispiest in the world, but we'll see what the course layouts look like. We'll jump over to Fantasy National to talk DFS plays. We're going to look at some Showdown, so stick around. I got sleepers at the end, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel. This is going to be the best video of the year so far. Make sure you're subbed to the channel, notifications, smash that like, share on social media, retweet it. So please appreciate you supporting the show and also the DraftKings contest. I'd like to get that thing built up a little bit more too. $3 entry. I pay the top two until we get to 50. Then I'll probably go up to top 3. Link will be posted. So let's get started. The American Express Pro-Am for the first 3 rounds, 54 holes. Then they do the standard cut. So you're getting 3 rounds out of these guys regardless. So make that tip number 1. Then we go on to the stadium course for the final round. But the thing about this tournament, it's a full 156 player field for the first 3 rounds in a Pro-Am format. That's why we have 3 different golf courses, because these rounds can be painfully slow with these other pros, which they're not just garbage celebrities. They're CEOs and all that. Most of you all know that already. But we do have 3 courses. Some players, it's going to be strokes gained patience with a lot of these things. So some players that can handle those 5 to 7 hour rounds will be good for you. So 3 courses. Featured Pete Dye Stadium course hosts 2 rounds of the golf. And then you have La Quinta Country Club and the Nicholas Tournament, each hosting a round apiece. So we are going to refer them as LQ, La Quinta, NT, Nicholas Tournament, SC, Stadium Course. You see it every year on the leaderboard, which you want to know which one they're playing. In parentheses, it's one of those 3. Easily identifiable. So let's just summarize the on the flyover here, LQ and NT, because it's the less than sharp Google flyover for these 2. But they're basically really super easy golf courses, especially La Quinta. Short par 72s, Bermuda grass greens with some POA overseed. These are major overseeded greens. So they're almost more POA than Bermuda. So if I were you, I would err on about 65 to 70% POA versus Bermuda. California is dominantly POA. So just keep that in mind as well. LQ is the one with the small greens, 4,700 feet. NT's the one with the big greens, 7,000 square feet. So that's how you tell those 2 apart. And also Nicholas Tournament and LQ, both of those are more shaded from the wind. The stadium course is the more coastal, open, water hazards, Pete Dye designed course. You can easily spot that Pete Dye designed stadium course because you can see that burnt out Bermuda rough that draws like a little pattern surrounding the lush fairways. Then you got, I love Pete Dye. He's just so unique with his course designs. Basically Scottish links style, steep slopes, deep bunkers. Oh, that one, I believe the par 5 16th has that gigantic 19-foot deep bunker called the San Andreas Fault. In typical Pete Dye design, he loves pot bunkers, sand water hazards, side hill lies. He likes using those railroad ties, and I like the look of it too, aesthetically, and Is agronomical a word? I wonder. Somebody post in the comments, let me know, because I just made that up off the top of my head. That sounds really good. But the agronomy of the golf course, basically what it amounts to is those railroad ties help erosion, and they look good too. And they make things difficult, and they look neat when the players hit them and they bounce way up in the air and then go in the water because you don't know where they're going. I digress. So that is the hallmark of Pete Dye Designs. Let's get into some breakdown and we'll look at the golf course and all the stats and all that good stuff. Here we go. All righty, this is La Quinta Golf Course scorecard from Fantasy National. And as you can see how easy it is. When you start off, and there's a couple of, I mean, if you want to call them difficult, they are pretty difficult. I mean, any long par threes, 200 yards are always going to be a challenge, but that's where you're going to make, if any, bogey. There's about 4 holes that are really that you can find trouble with, but mostly this course is good because it is easy and bogey free, basically what it amounts to. But you can see why it's a preferred target of Showdown. This little stretch right here is where it starts. You got the par four short, easy. Then you got back-to-back par fives, a short par three. So this little stretch right here, and then you got the sub 400 finish in the front nine. I mean, you really ought to just mash this front nine because the back nine, although it's not difficult, it's not as many scoreable holes, but basically it's less amounts of trouble. So you can be able to get through there, maybe go 1 or 2 under, then shoot 4 under on the front, and boom, there you have it. You know, you want to hopefully shoot like a 65, 67 on that golf course, because if you're anywhere close to 70 or par, you've lost a ton to the field. Just ask anyone who played Davis Thompson in round one back in 2023. He birdied number 3, number 4. Then he made back-to-back eagles on those 2 par fives, right up here. So he had scored like 30 DraftKings points in 4 holes. So it was pretty crazy. Anyway, back nine, like I said, not gettable. So let's jump over to the Nicklaus, and this is the Nicklaus course. As you can see, much different. Still very scoreable, but it's not as juicy as far as the opportunities. You know, no back-to-back par fives. It does have your standard 4 par fives, and they're not long. They're 550, 528. So you got chances to make eagles, very much so. Then you have later on making the turn here. See, and to me, I'll go over this at Showdown later. There's not really opportunities for streaks, but we'll talk about that in the Showdown segment. But you do have, you know, scoreable holes. You ought to be able to shoot a 3 or 4 sub 70 round on this course. Won't kill you. So get into that. Then the main one is going to be, if you look at that, you kind of want to get your screenshot or look it up yourself if you're on Fantasy National, or check it out. You can always Google around and find your birdie rates, eagle rates, even the PGA website itself has that. So the difference between Nicklaus and Stadium, I think, is they're closer to equal. I'll go over that in Showdown. There's just more trouble here because there's a lot more water hazards and everything like that with the Pete Dye designs. But you can see the green in here where you have birdie holes, you have sub 400 par fours, you have short par threes, then you have short par fives, another par 5, 559. There's the big one though. That's 600. That's going to be a tough one to eagle, but it still has a 2.5% eagle rate on it. So there must be that might be like downhill or downwind, one or the other. I can't recall off the top of my head because it says this course is very slopey, back and forth types. So excuse me. So what the SC brings into is similar to Sawgrass, like his big brother. Lots of scoring ops, but lots of big time trouble, water, and all that stuff. But trouble if you miss, right? Riskier play, could provide leverage. So let's get over to our main model. This is a quick look at the tournament history. As you can see, players up top here are the tops. Sung Jae, Siwoo, Tony. These guys have long time history here. But the top guys didn't really, last couple of years ain't really getting it done, are they? They're just middling results as far as that goes. Then you got a guy like Brian Harmon. I think he'll be really looking to get back to the winning or the good form as he's playing pretty well at Sony. So Adam Hadwin, Sam Burns, you can see the list. Xander, just two. He's the guy right here, back to back T3s. So everybody's going to be on him most likely. So let's take a look over here at the first main model, just last 24 rounds, American Express course. Getting into the field here, just to give you a couple of updates. Scotty Scheffler out, as you may already know. He cut his hand, but Jordan Spieth returns to golf after having that wrist surgery. He had a terrible year last year fighting this wrist thing. It just could pop up at any point in time. So he just really wasn't good. But he's been practicing for a full month now, pain-free. He's ready to go. I don't know if I would take the splash on him too much. I might maybe spot or maybe a bet, maybe a top 20 bet. I don't know. It depends. We'll see as the news comes out. But with Spieth, whenever he does any interview, he's winning the golf tournament. He just always just mass. But he has massive upside with how hot he can get around the green. So I imagine after that wrist surgery, he was probably forced to do nothing but putting and chipping for a long time before he swung a golf club. So hopefully that short game is back where he was just ramming in 50 footers all the time. But then also after that, you have other big names. You got Sung Jae, you got Xander, you got Tony Finau, Jason Day, Patrick Cantlay, Sam Burns, JT, Willie Z, Cam Young, and many more. Should be a competitive field. So no shot trackers, but I wanted to go back over to the show you some stats from the SC Stadium course here. As you can see, ball striking is Pete Dye. It's all about ball striking. This is a definitely putter friendly environment. Par 5 scoring is always important. Average fairways gained. There you go. Here's your approach shot distribution. This is where it can get a little interesting. And I think this almost applies to a lot of, like, especially La Quinta, where you could just bomb it and get away with it. But you could see 75 to 100, you're hitting a lot more shots, and also just a little bit more from 100, but you're not as many here from 1 to 125. But right here, this is 150 to 175 is going to be a lot of your approach shots from these par 5s. That's how short they are, because you can see how the very little 200 plus, usually it's not even average, and very little 75 to 200. So there you go. That's kind of what I wanted to show you there. I'm not paying attention to the cut line because we get 3 rounds regardless. Then here's your driving accuracy, your green percentage. Accuracy is down because it's tough to hit these fairways. They're very narrow. And scrambling's always up at Pete Dye courses. So definitely going to be looking for a lot of short game type players. And 3 putts are less because the greens are a lot smaller. 7,000, I believe 5,000 square feet on the Pete Dye course. So that's going to show you your breakdown of the stats. Now we're going to start talking about players. Now here's my model, and trying to think how I got here. I went ball striking. I got driving distance at the end, birdie or better gained. Obviously, I want nothing but scoring. So you got birdies, DK, opportunities, par 5. I believe I've got proximity. I wanted that in there, just proximity as a whole. And then I've got obviously approach, ball striking, things of that nature. My mixed condition model, very heavy putting, very heavy in that 100 or that 75 to 125 range that we talked about just now. So you can see like Charlie Hoffman ranks #1 in that model. I believe it's over like the last 50 rounds. I can't remember how many rounds I went on the MCM. But there's your models right there. Kitayama ranking out number one. He made the cut this week. I played a little bit of him, but he's a guy that struggles with the putter, so it's going to be tough to get to him a whole lot. But if he could make some putts, then there's definitely no wrong with that. So let's get into some more showdown. I mean, we know the guys, all the major players like Xander's going to be the highest price guy. Then you've got like, your JTs and your Sam Burns. Those are all going to be guys in play. I have not checked this actually lately to see if things have changed because I would really like to get. Nope. I was hoping to get DraftKings odds because that usually gives you a little bit better organization as far as pricing is concerned because you don't know what these guys are going to be priced. And but I'll tell you, Xander's going to be the highest priced guy, obviously. And this is the regular model ranking going down. You can take a look at some of these guys, and let's talk about just a couple. Now, at the end here in a few minutes after we go over Showdown, I'm going to have some low key guys, if you want to call them sleepers. But there's JT. He's a very good Pete Dye player as well. He could definitely. But what worries me more than anything with him is putter. He seems to be getting better at the putter, but he absolutely sprayed it everywhere at Century. He went OB. I mean, how do you go OB at Century with 50 yards wide average fairways? I just don't comprehend that. But JT got it done. There's Xander. He's not ranking out very well because I think 41st at Zozo and then like 30th at Century. He switched to a guy that well, I'll get to that later. We'll go over all that toward the end when I give my final thoughts. Anyway, you can see this field. It's fairly wide open. I really wanted to talk Showdown, and I didn't want to make this video too long. So let's see. Did I mark this one? Yes, this is Showdown, and so basically what we're going to do here is look at my strategy. Monitor the weather, obviously, but I tell you what, when I looked at it first, hardly no wind, beautiful temperatures. So if it's playing that soft, then you don't need it. It's negated on the most part. But when you play Showdown, just on the average, and let's talk about this before we get into showing some more modeling, so you can see my beautiful face. You can tell I'm in a good mood today. But anyway, my strategy, monitor the weather. Obviously, it's everybody else's strategy too. But playing the AM guys gives you a softer, more scoreable course anyway. But I'll look at PM guys too, one or two PM guys, because I always like to have those players. And a lot of times they can score better depending on the conditions. But if all things being equal with the wind, then I will err on more AM guys, obviously. People are going to tell you to target LQ, La Quinta, but they may say how much NT has drifted to be similar. Well, here's my take. I'm going to go extremely heavy. I mean, like 5 or all 6 LQ because LQ has those stretch of holes. It's a lot easier to go bogey free. That's one bonus. It's a lot easier to get the 3 birdie streak. That's 2 bonus. So you got bogey free and birdie streaks. Like I said, on the front 9, you got 5 or 6 different opportunities to run up that birdie streak. But I don't think NT has it as much. Now, the hot take is, I would go if you wanted to be risky, risk it for the biscuit. I would play SC over NT. I think it's just as scoreable, but it's just more risk of disaster. So if you want to get a guy that can, because guys can shoot 65 easy on the SC course, and especially if the wind's down. So and also I think you have a better chance of making 3x birdie streak on this SC course. So if the wind is down, don't dismiss. My next piece of advice: skip round 1. For one, the contests are shit, and it's more of a crapshoot. But what you can do after round 1 is go through the performances on Fantasy National, and then So here's your model. Last 24 rounds for uh, round 2, round 3. Keith Mitchell, Johnny Vegas ranking up here pretty high. Keith Mitchell is a guy that likes to putt on Bermuda, but I don't know if he's so much of a POA guy. But he would be a big risk. But he's been striking the ball pretty well, so he's got a puncher's chance to do some damage in some showdown plays, and nobody will play him, I don't think. So going down here a little bit further, you can see these guys like Rico Hoey, Highsmith. Joe Highsmith is going to be a low key play this week. I'll go ahead and spoil that one for you. He missed the cut at Sony, but he has been just outstanding in his play over the fall. So he might be a guy that goes slightly overlooked. Alex Smalley is probably a guy I'd play in Showdown. I don't trust his putter all 4 rounds, but that guy is just an absolute outstanding ball striker. He drives the ball well. But you can see his strokes gain. Actually, the approach in rounds 2 and rounds 3 not as good. But models can be deceiving. So anyway, I really wanted to give some advice on how to play Showdown this week more than just actually give you Showdown picks. So let's go ahead and talk about some players a little bit more, and we'll go back to here's the Pete Dye model. Xander's up there. I wanted to get these guys to the top because this is last 24 on Pete Dye courses. Xander, like I said, I think he's the top priced guy, but his struggles are just very strange. I mean, he won 2 majors, player of the year type year, outside of Scotty's run, who won 7 times, obviously. So why would you make any changes to your swing? Well, he brought a new driver in to Kapalua, and he hit like 3 out of bounds at Kapalua. But he did drive the ball. He usually gains, especially at Kapalua, massively off the tee, and he was just about even. He crawled back to even. So he could have lost strokes. So I don't know why the guys do it. Billy Ho did it a couple years ago after he had an outstanding season when he won Memorial. He wanted to change his swing to hit more of a fade instead of his draw, and then he almost lost a complete year of his career. Played so bad. So, like I said, 41st at Zozo, 30th at Century. That sucks. Tony Finau, guy I'm interested in seeing play. I don't know if you've heard, but he's being sued for $16 million by a so-called friend over some deals that they made in the past where he was helping Tony out, and he was promised some things in the future. So Tony, he is saying allegedly Tony's reneging on the deal, but we'll see how that goes. That case is pending sometime this year. He putted well at Century, but the ball striking, which is his jam, wasn't there. So I don't know. Now, we are going to get into some guys that are not so much on the list here. And we're going to start with one. I forget where he ranks out in the model, but he's Kevin Yu. And I'll just have to, there he is, Chun On Yu, PGA Tour winner, Kevin Yu, who won the Sanderson. He was 3rd here in 2024, mashes it off the tee, but he's highly volatile. He's got a huge upside. And you can see he tears up the par 4s and the DK points. So, well, this is your Pete Dye model. So that's good news too. But I want to go back over here for the whole thing. And I wished I would have saved my place. Actually, I'm better off doing this, right? Clear it. Now I can go down here and find more guys. Let's just skip on past him because the next guy I wanted to show you was Lee Hodges. And he's a guy that playing really well this week. He was actually rated well for me last week, but I didn't end up playing on him. He was in the top 5 going into Sunday at Sony. Did not play on Sunday the last 2 years at Amex, but he had a T3 in 2022. So I do believe that he's going to be coming in good form and should be a guy to pay attention to next week. I still think he'll go overlooked, even if he does finish in the top 10 this week. Now, another one, the aforementioned Davis Thompson. He's the guy that I talked about earlier that went ham on the front nine at La Quinta a couple of years ago. Well, I was playing. I had him in my pool. I looked at him. He modeled out well for me. I even put him in the show. Then decided against playing him. He went nuclear on that Thursday. He birdied 3 4, then made the back to back. Excuse me, back to back eagles. Uh, and then he ended up shooting 62. He finished like second behind. He was beaten only by John Rahm. Probably should have won the golf tournament. If Liv was around back then, he would have, obviously. But DK points all day there. He's the guy that's been struggling during the fall. I think he'll go way overlooked, but his stats aren't horrible for the last 24 rounds. So he's a guy I still think can make the cut and play Sunday. I think he's pretty good on Pete Dye courses too. But another guy that I wanted to bring in, and it's time to get him going, fire him up, is which one of these? It's not Siwoo, it's not Tom, it's not Chan, it's Michael Kim. Give me Michael Kim this week. The man has had a absolute fantastic fall. Several years ago, I can't believe when I looked this up, and if you've been playing DFS as long as me, he went 28 under and went crazy at John Deere, running away to victory. And it was hard to believe. All the way back to 2018 is how far back that goes. Well, he's finally back to playing similar golf than he was then. So he finished T6 here last year. Guy who can catch a hot fire putter, make a ton of birdies, and obviously what you need at a fucking putting contest, as John Rahm would say. He says it's a shit format, setup, all that stuff too. Now, low-key guy, Patrick Fishburne, maybe not. Obviously, he's a week early. He's in the top of the leaderboard at Sony, but even after his great performance there, I still think he'll be slept on some. He'll probably get a little bit more ownership, but the thing that might bother me is his price might go up. Instead of getting him at like, I don't know, 6,500 or something, he might end up being where is Fish? Let's go look at Fishburne. Fish. 19th in the model. You can see he might go overlooked. He's just kind of this guy that he mashes it off the tee pretty good. He's pretty accurate. Decent, just a little bit off on the putting. You can see the 8th at the RSM, even losing strokes putting. Look, I mean that's some really really good ball striking. So he's a guy that you won't want to sleep on. Keep an eye on the ownership. Maybe he fades on Sunday because he is a masher, but it's volatile. The other guy was Highsmith, Joe Highsmith, who I did mention just briefly a little bit earlier, and he's 4th in the model, number 1 in par fives. This over the last 24 rounds, 3 birdie or better. He missed the cut at Sony, so but he's more consistent because he has a really good short game. So be on the lookout for him. He's a guy that can definitely do some damage. 6th in birdie average. That's what you're looking for. Another one. Let's go with Monty. And he's not Monty, he's Montgomery. And oops, golly, I hate when I do this. There we go. You can see how bad he's ranking out. But he made the cut. I played him this week at sub 2% ownership. And I don't know how it'll work out because he's doing the one thing that I counted on not well. He's losing strokes putting. I think he was -1 through the first 3 rounds, but you can see he's always such a good putter. And if you go back and look when he made he made this really great run in the fall right here, I think. Well, you can't see the putting stats, but you can just assume he did it all with the putter. I think it was 2023. I don't think it was way back here. Yeah, he's still on Corn Ferry back here. But you can see right here, it is 2022. Here we go. Look, third at Fortinet, 9 Sanders, Shriners. Look at the putting, just fire. So he can run them off. If he gets that putter going again and then is actually doing something decently like close to even on the ball striking, which he's not at RSM obviously, but he is at Sony. He's doing things pretty well with the driver. That's usually his downfall. Is that he sprays it everywhere. So I'm going to run him back. And ball striking goes. There's another guy down here that I'll show you. Carson Young. I think I'm about ready to fire him up. I've been avoiding him. You can see a lot of opportunities, and he does struggle with the putter a little bit. He's not so great, but he does get his. He's not long off the tee, but he's very accurate. So he does his damage hitting fairways and long irons. So he should be be able to take advantage of the easier course here. He is actually a very good Pete Dye player too. So tee to green, very great. We can actually show you that if you'd like, because I think I went back and did some Pete Dye stuff here. That is my Showdown model. Here's the other model. And I really like how Moose did this, adding in the Architects, the Pete Dye, because I used to love using a Pete Dye model. And a low-key tip for later on in the Masters, Pete Dye specialists play well at the Masters. So just put that in the back of your brain. Now, here's Pete Dye. And this is long-term stuff. So let's do this. Because Pete Dye is only the okay, I wanted to do something a little bit different other than the Pete Dye thing. I wanted to do the last 8 rounds on just the stadium course and to bring up my next guy because I knew he was going to show up there. But Carson Young, low-key good Pete Dye player. And another Pete Dye type is my dude, Bud Cauley. And Bud Cauley, I think, is finally back. He's had multiple problems with like car accidents and missing time and a lot of that stuff, but he actually had a really great fall swing. He's not a big guy, not a big hitter, but really just consistent all the way, all around. Good game, kind of similar to Carson. And I think maybe once he's in form, I think he's probably if you see a ownership, I would pivot to Cauley because I think he's arguably a better player anyway. But you can see he is just ranking out really well in the last 8 rounds on the stadium course. But now let me caveat that because we have to go back to get these stats. And that's basically the Amex. So you have to go all the way back to 2020, but you can see he's got 4th, he's got a 3rd, he's got a top 15 a couple times. So he likes this format and he likes the golf course is plural. So I think he's going to be really looking good here. And actually, since we're right on him, here's his recent form going back to the RSM 25th, making cuts. So he made 4 out of the 5 fall event cuts, a top 5 at Sanderson. So pretty solid by him. And that's where I'm going to leave it. Best of luck this week. Hopefully you're doing well today. Hopefully you're enjoying the football. And we will get back at it here shortly. I'll be in the Discord. I rarely ever mention the Discord. So just jump in the Discord. If you want to get in, leave a request in the comments section. I'll send you an invite. So until next time, see you soon.